Hello everybody and welcome back to another brand new Doctor Who video. We're just 2 days away from the return of Doctor Who with Doctor Who Flux, episode 1, the Halloween Apocalypse of course. Today I'm going to be giving you guys a little bit of a preview of what to expect for the series as a whole. I'm going to kind of tackle more specifically the first episode in tomorrow night's video. But yeah, tonight we're going to try and look at the structure of the series, how I think it might all go down. It's a bit of a struggle because they don't exactly like to tell us anything about the series, so we don't have loads of information to work with, but I'll try and go with what we do have to give you guys some sort of impression of what the new series may well be like. So of course the big things we know about this new series are that Doctor Who Flux is called Doctor Who Flux rather than just Series 13 because it's all one big story, 6 episodes over 6 weeks. It's one story rather than being individual episodes like we're used to in Doctor Who. So I guess in some ways it's more like the classic series, but with a big new Who twist, I guess, and the big budgets and more complex storytelling maybe of the current series. We've also got the regulars of Jodie and Mandip coming back as the Doctor and Yaz. We've got John Bishop coming in to play the new character of Dan Lewis, the plasterer from Liverpool. They seem great, go to great lengths to not really tell us anything about his character. So it's very, very hard to tell exactly what is going to happen with Dan as a character in this series. We still don't really have any impression of how he's going to meet the Doctor and get involved in the story, apart from that, seemingly we kind of get thrown straight into a story in the first episode. And, it's at least partially set in Liverpool where Dan's character is from. Exactly what he's going to be like as a companion, I don't know. We've seen the sort of 1 minute little teaser clip from the first episode, and I think that gives the impression that it's basically going to be John Bishop as a Doctor Who companion, just called something else. He certainly felt like he was playing himself as much as the character in that moment. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think that's probably what we've got to expect from his character. And I'm very sort of cautious to be too critical of it before we see it, because, we've been critical in the past of getting comedians in there, say Catherine Tate, say Matt Lucas, say Bradley Walsh, and actually all of them, I'd say, have been pretty good. They've all had really, really strong moments. Obviously, Catherine Tate's probably the most popular one, ultimately. But yeah, that's why I don't want to sort of write him off before he's even started, even if, we're not 100% sure how great he's going to be as an actor or as a character. Let's kind of stick with it and see how it goes. And so yeah, for this series, we've got this whole series-long narrative. It's pretty unclear exactly what this narrative is really all about. We know it's related to this flux concept, idea, thing. We don't really know exactly what flux is. They sort of use vague terms like it's a cataclysmic event for the universe that affects everybody. Exactly what that means. Is it going to be, the end of the universe? Is it time being completely changed forever? I don't know. It feels very, very vague. I feel like they've actually done a really, really good job of keeping things under wraps for this series. And in some ways to extreme an extent where, like the people in the TV guides who haven't even seen a preview of it and can't say anything about it are writing kind of slightly, not great press about the show, complaining about how much secrecy there is about the programme, basically, in the TV guides this week, which isn't a great look for Doctor Who, I have to say. But I do prefer this end of the spectrum, I guess, than what we had in Series 12, which, although they didn't announce it officially, was essentially the whole plot of the series leaked in about 3 months before the series aired. We knew, well, if you went on the forums, you could find out that Sacha Dhawan was going to be the Master, that Ruth was going to turn out to be the Doctor in episode 5, that the Timeless Child was going to be the Doctor, and that was going to be revealed in series and in the final episode, that the Cybermen were coming back, that Ashad the Lone Cyberman was going to be a whole big part of the story as well. Like, all of that kind of got leaked before the series aired last series, so that was a real shame. But I do feel like in terms of official announcements and press, they have really kind of gone a bit too extreme on the avoiding spoilers, that it's just so hard to work out exactly what's going to be going on in the series. Things we do know are the Centaurans are going to be back, the Cybermen are coming back, the Weeping Angels are coming back, the Ood are coming back, well, at least for cameos for some of those. We know that the Centaurans are going to have a big story because episode 2 is called War of the Centaurans. We know the Weeping Angels are going to have their own episode because it's the Weeping Angels, of course they will, and I think it's going to be episode 4 of Flux. It's going to be a kind of the most Weeping Angels focused one. But it just gets so confusing with all these promo pictures they've released of episode 1 particularly. It seems like the Centaurans and the Weeping Angels are in episode 1, and yet episode 2 seems to be the Centauran story and episode 4 seems to be the Weeping Angel story. So I feel like there's going to be so many kind of plot lines set up in this first episode, the Halloween Apocalypse, that's just going to kind of spread and then be carried through and explored more in individual episodes later in the series. I feel like it's going to kind of be the big launch episode in the first one, and then actually we'll focus in on the different storylines more so in each episode going forwards, which I think is a great idea. You really introduce all the big moments, the monsters, presumably whatever disaster, whatever mystery, whatever situation is set up by whatever the Flux is in episode 1, and then that's kind of like the sort of fallout of that is going to be explored over the following episodes, I think is probably how the series is going to go. We know we have these new creatures called the Ravagers. Check out my video yesterday about the Timeless Child, where I kind of give a theory on exactly who the Ravagers are and what's going on with them. I think certainly there's some interesting stuff to come from it, and I think that could play out really, really interestingly for the series. We've got this sort of almost Chewbacca-like character called Carvanista turning up in the first episode as well, who seemingly has John Bishop's character Dan Lewis locked up in a cage in the first episode. And then there's a million different guest stars, like a Craig Parkinson from Line of Duty, Kevin McNally. You've got so many different guest stars. I can't actually remember all their names off by heart. There's too many of them really, but given it's only a 6-episode series, it does seem pretty impressive how many different guest stars they've actually got in to come and do roles in the series, and seemingly that like so many of them are in multiple episodes, which is so kind of against what we're used to with Doctor Who, where you'd get, a guest star come in and play a main character for an episode and then that's it. But actually it looks like a lot of those characters are going to spread across multiple episodes, which I think is really interesting, creates much more confusion, but I think makes it overall more interesting for the series to look to. And then we've also got the character we know is going to be recurring, of the character of Vinda, played by Jacob Anderson, who we found out recently is a big Doctor Who fan. He's a Sylvester McCoy fan. He's seen Paradise Towers and the Happiness Patrol, so he's a proper fan, and it's great to get guys who are real sort of fans of the show. I think he was kind of a Wilderness Years fan, now playing one of the main characters in the series. It's still very unclear exactly who he is, what his role is. Like, I think he got asked in those press interviews as to what his character is, and he says nothing about his character apart from, I'd like my character to be remembered like River Song and people like that, or Captain Jack. And I'm like, you didn't actually say anything about what your character is, so we don't really know. I'm guessing maybe like a bounty hunter or a time agent, space agent, something like that, possibly. But it's really a guess. Maybe he's something to do with the Division, and that's how the Gallifrey kind of and Timeless Child storyline is going to be played into it. I don't know. It feels so confusing, but we know he's going to turn up quite a lot. I think he's going to be kind of the fourth main character alongside the three sort of main regulars of the TARDIS team. I feel like he's going to be that other character turning up in virtually every single episode. As I say, we know the first 2 episodes are called The Halloween Apocalypse and War of the Centaurans. We don't actually know anything about the titles for the rest of the series, except we know that Chris Chibnall is writing every single episode except for episode 4, which is co-written with Maxine Alderton, who wrote The Haunting of Villa Diodati. I'd say one of the best episodes of Series 12, and we believe that's the Weeping Angel episode. It's not confirmed, but that's probably what it's going to be, and so I'm really excited to see what she's going to bring to it. I know some people will look at it and say, oh gosh, 5 out of 6 episodes purely written by Chris Chibnall, that doesn't sound great, but I feel like with the nature of the telling all one story, it's kind of necessary to really have it tightly written by one writer. And I feel like in many ways, based on the previous stuff that Chris has done, that writing in this way for a show might actually work better for him than trying to write solid individual episodes. I feel like him creating ongoing narratives actually works a lot better, and sort of developing those over multiple episodes, I think that could lend to his skills. And so I'm hopeful that this might bring the best out of Chris, maybe a little bit more so than what we saw in series 11 and 12. And so yeah, exactly where this storyline is going to go through the series, I don't think we really know at this stage. We obviously know that Jodie isn't going to regenerate at the end of the series. I certainly am pretty confident that, sure, maybe there'll be a random shock, but we know there's 3 specials coming next year, and they've certainly publicised that she's going to regenerate in the Centenary special, which is going to be airing around about this time next year, with a special New Year's Day next year, and probably around Easter as well. And we've seen Jodie filming for the Centenary special, so she's surely going to make it to there, even if there's some shenanigans that go on in that time as well. And you'd probably expect Mandip Gill and John Bishop's character to kind of carry through a lot of that, maybe those specials as well. It's a little bit less clear about that, but I think they're probably going to carry through to the very end of the Jodie era that we're going to get next year. And yeah, as I say, do check out my video yesterday to kind of get more info on how I think the Timeless Child and the Division are going to play into things. I think it's inevitable they're going to have a major role. The Timeless Child is going to be an ongoing mystery that's explored by the Doctor, and learning more about her past and things, and whether the whole storyline of what the Division is, this sort of organisation from the pre-Hartnell Doctor days, how that's going to play in, whether the Ruth Doctor is going to make a return. I don't know. I think it'd be quite cool if she did, but I feel like we don't have any information on whether that's likely to happen or not. And yeah, I just feel generally actually quite excited for the series. I think it's just exciting that they're doing something really different with the series, that we've got it all as one long story, that it seems to be going back and forth through the episodes. We've got this balance of returning monsters and new villains. I just feel like there's a real sense of excitement and optimism about the show that maybe wasn't there so much in the last couple of series because the series haven't been quite so good. And maybe in 7 weeks' time we'll all be sitting here like, why the heck do we get excited? That was awful. But I'm hopeful that it won't be, that the idea of Doctor Who Flux is a good one, that Chris's kind of last hurrah as a writer for Doctor Who in a full series at least can be a great one, that he can correct some of the mistakes and the faults of the previous series and just give us a really exciting piece of Doctor Who that's going to hook us in every single week. We know this is one story, so we've got cliffhangers every week, which I think is another reason that's going to keep people watching over and over again for each episode. And so I genuinely feel really, really excited for this series. I know there's a lot of people out there who are not, and like, that's fine, I get it. It hasn't been great over the last 2 series, and so it's fair enough if you don't feel much excitement. But just based on everything we know so far, I really think there's a lot of sense and reasons to be optimistic about this series. So yes, guys, please let me know in the comments below your thoughts, your theories of what you expect might happen in Doctor Who Flux Series 13. I'm going to stick with Flux. I'm just going to call it Doctor Who Flux now. I think that it's time. Let's just call it Doctor Who Flux. I want to know, what do you think's going to happen? What do you think? When do you think the sort of different monsters are going to appear? What do you think the overall story is going to be? How do you think it's going to be resolved? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below on all your expectations for Doctor Who Flux. But apart from that, guys, please do that like button, that subscribe if you're new here. I'll be having a preview of purely episode 1 tomorrow. I'll try and give some more insight that wasn't in this video as to what to expect from just that first episode in tomorrow's video. And then on Sunday from 4 p.m, join me and Megan for the return of the Doctor Who pub quiz. We've got lots of fun rounds where you can join in and answer some quiz questions, and then we'll be building up to the first episode, the Halloween Apocalypse, that airs on Sunday evening. So that's about it from this video, guys. I will see you again very soon for a brand new one. Goodbye.